Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Sunday to everybody. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today's topic is going to be about the history of barbershops and hair salon in the Black community. We don't often give credit to the hair salons or the barbershops in our neighborhoods, right? Because it's more to just it's more to it than just going to get your hair done or get your hair cut. Like me, I got my hair cut yesterday, so I got a lineup. Anyways, it's more to it than just going and get yourself beautified and whatnot. These places have played a very significant role within our community. And we're not just talking about just beauty wise, but also education, especially in the barbershop scene, and also within activism as well. So it's more like a sacred ground for many of us where we can go and just not only go and pamper ourselves, but also have conversations, have a good time, sit down, crack jokes, get some knowledge. And some people like to go in there and sell stuff. So, it's been that ground, it's been the foundation for our community. Now, I don't know if many of y'all seen a movie called Barbershop. Barbershop was a pretty good movie. It was a story played by Ice Cube. He was playing the main character in the movie. So it was a story about a guy who took on the family legacy of owning the barbershop on the south side of Chicago. And he was struggling financially to keep it open because his father, when his father passed, his father left him with a lot of debt. So he had to figure out how he was going to keep the barbershop open. And eventually he was able to raise up some money and start hiring more barbers, giving people a chance. So the story of that movie is basically just showing the unification of people coming into those spaces, right? And most of the times when we go to the barbershop, it's mostly black people coming in there getting their hair cut or getting their hair done. So it brings us together in the same room. All right. So I just wanted to go into the history about it. But before I get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel, and all. All right. So I tried to find as much information as I possibly could regarding to the history about barbershops and hair salon. So I'm just gonna go over some articles that I was able to come across. All right. And also I hope you guys check out the video that I did previously with my brother, African Creation Energy, also known as Professor Ace. Please check out his channel, support his channel. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that screen. Let's see, trying to post the screen up. Okay. All right, so right here, this screen, kind of slide it over a little bit. All right, so this comes from the blogs.loc.gov, which is the Library of Congress. Okay. So it's called Honoring African Americans Barbering on February the 3rd of 2022. That's when it came out. So it said this post was written by Lynn Weinstein, a business reference librarian in the Science, Technology, and Business Division. So it says African Americans men barbering has its roots in slavery. When enslavers earned income, when enslavers earned income by leasing enslaved barbers to neighboring plantation and nearby barbering establishment to groom slaves and affluent white men, enslaved individuals often worked alongside freedmen and some individuals were able to earn their freedom through barbering. So it says from 1880s, though the early part of the second decade of the 1900s, black-owned barbershop primarily served prominent white clients. Barbering and shaving white clientele was an early and important component of the freeman's service economy and provided upwards economic mobility. After emancipation, black owned barbershops, organized as sole proprietorships or family run businesses, also began serving African American clientele. The barber was and remained a respected public figure in the black community with professional skills who could pass along his trade through apprenticeship. All right. So as you can see, here's some few pictures here. Then it goes on to say the overall number of African Americans barber declined over time due to changes in state laws that require training and licensing. In addition, competition created by the interest of white men into the field also contribute to the decline in the number of black barbers. Nonetheless, African American barbershops have continued to serve as a community meeting place and refuge and have played important roles in civil rights as well as in other social and political, economic, and cultural movements. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, some barbershops have served as food distribution centers as well as places for reliable COVID-19 disease information, vaccination, and testing. Then we go further down. It says some early barbers became economic figures in Black Wall Streets across the country and emerged as entrepreneurs in other fields, including real estate, banking, and insurance. One prominent example was John Merrick, who was born enslaved but went on to become an entrepreneur, community leader, and philanthropist based on income first generated from his barbering establishment in Durham, North Carolina. He served as the first president of North Carolina Mutual, was influential in the creation of management of the Mechanics and Farmer Banks, and was a founder of the Merrick Moore Spalding Real Estate Company. Mr. Merrick formed the Bull City Drug Company and was president of Lincoln Hospital. While he lacked formal education, Mr. Merrick supported black literacy and scholarship for children and adults by funding rural school and the college for blacks in Durham, now known as North Carolina Central University. All right, so that's one article that gives information on the importance of barbershops. So now, for those of you that don't know the history about the barbers, right? They were actually surgeons. They were actually surgeons. So if you ever look at the symbols, the red, the blue, and the white, okay? So the red represents the blood, and the blue represents the vein, and the white represents bandage. Okay, so they did also practice surgery, and they did what is called a tooth extract, which they removed the tooth out your mouth, and was like in the earliest time period. Now I can go into a little bit about that, about the early history of barbering before I go on to the next information. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Multi Generational Mulatto. Shout out to you, Peace. And let me see. 1515 Media. Shout out to you. North Carolina in the building. All right. Shout out to North Carolina. Shout out to the South. Okay. So let me just go ahead and share a little information about the barbers. Okay. All right. So let's go down to the history real fast. So I'm about to share this information with y'all before I go on to the next thing. All right, so going down to where it says antiquity, right? The barber's trade has a long history. Razor has been found among relics of the Bronze Age around 3500 BC in Egypt. Okay. The first barbering service were performed by Egyptians in 5000 BC with instruments they had made from oyster shells or sharpened flint. In ancient Egyptian culture, barbers were highly respected individuals. Priests and men of medicine are the earliest recorded example of barbers. In addition, the art of barbering played a significant role across continents. Mayan, Aztec, Norse, and Mongolian cultures utilized shave art as a way to distinguish roles in society in wartime. And men in ancient Greece would have their beards, hair, and fingernails trimmed and styled by the I don't know what this word is, but anyways, it says in an agora, which also served as a social gathering for debates and gossip. And that's very common what we do at the hair salons and barbershop, right? So barbering was introduced to Rome by the Greek colonies in Sicily in 296 BC, and barbershops quickly became very popular centers for daily news and gossip. A morning visit to the barber became a part of the daily routine as important as the visit to the public baths, and a young man's first shave was considered an essential part of his coming of age ceremony. So Roman barbers employed rudimentary mirrors and welded combs, razors, scissors, curling irons, specialized tools for beard removal, and pomata to remove unwanted hair elsewhere. A few Roman barbers became wealthy and influential, running shops that were favorite public locations of high society. Most, however, were simple tradesmen who owned small storefronts and worked in the streets for the low price. Okay, so let's talk about the barber pole. Excuse me. Okay, so the barber pole, right? Let's go into that. All right. So, a barber's pole is a type of sign used by barbers to signify the place or shop where they perform their craft. The trade sign is by a tradition dating back to the Middle Ages, a staff or pole with a helix of colored stripes, often red and white in many countries, but usually red, white, and blue in Japan and the United States. The pole may be stationary or may rotate, often with the aid of an electric monitor. A barber's pole with a helical stripe is a familiar sight and is used as a secondary metaphor to describe objects in many other contexts. For example, if the shaft or tower of a lighthouse has been painted with a helical stripe as a dark mark or day mark, the lighthouse could be described as having been painted in barber's pole color. All right. Then it also says during the medieval times, barbers performed surgery on customers as well as tooth extraction. That means pulling the damn tooth. The original pole had a brass wash basin at the top, representing the vessels in which leeches were kept, and bottom representing the basin that received the blood. So the pole itself represents the staff that the patient gripped during the procedure to encourage blood flow. And the twine pole motif is likely related to the staff of the Greek god of speed and commerce, Hermes, aka Caduceus. Evidence, for example, by early physician Van Helmont's description of himself as Francis Mercurius Van Helmont, a philosopher by that one in whom are all things, a wandering hermit. All right. So just basically going a little bit into the origin. So during the earliest time period in the beginning, the barbers were considered as surgeons. So they did more than just cut hair. They also performed surgeries on their customers. Nowadays, they don't do that anymore. They just simply cut hair or trim the beards, and oftentimes they might do eyebrows or they might do nails, etc. So it depends on where you go. But for the most part, you get your hair done, you get your beard done, and things of that nature. So, but yeah, they played a very vital role in that. So, and then think about this. let's say, let's just say you got to go get surgery done on your head. What's the first thing they gonna do? If you have to get surgery done on the back of your head, or because like you have a tumor or something, what would be one of the first thing they would have to do? They would have to cut your hair, right? Depends on where the surgery got to be done at. They would have to cut it. So it would make sense why barbers were surgeons at that time, because they had to cut into the person's head to do operation. But again, we're in a time period where all that has changed. So they no longer do those things anymore. They just simply known for styling and grooming and all. All right. So let's go back to some information. Now, I want to share this article right here. I think this is very significant and very important. It's basically dealing with like books, material that you guys can look into. All right, so let me share my screen. Hopefully it will show. Hold up. Okay. Okay, there you go. There you go, right there. So if you guys can see that, let me go ahead. Let me make this screen full actually. Actually, I want to make this whole entire screen full. All right. All right, so this website is called blacksouthernbelle.com. And it says Black Heritage Books, the history of black salons and barbershop. And it says there are so many fun memories of visiting who own hair salons and barbershops, from the smell of hair products to the jokes of the men in my family. There is something special about experiencing these community and heritage institutions. Looking to explore the history of black hair salons and barbershops, check out these books below to add to your library collection. All right, so this first book right here is called The Beauty Shop Politics, African American Women's Activism in Beauty Industry. So it goes in and say, look through the lens of black business history. Beauty shop politics shows how black beauticians in the Jim Crow era parlayed their economic independence and access to a public community space into platforms for activism. Tiffany M. Gill argues that beauty industry played a crucial role in the creation of the modern black female identity, and that the seemingly vigorous space of a beauty salon actually has stimulated social, political, and economic change. So, from the founding of the National Negro Business League in 1900 and onward, African Americans have embraced the entrepreneurial spirit by starting their own businesses. But Black women's forays into the business world were overshadowed by those of Black men. With a broad scope that encompasses the role of gossip in salons, ethnic beauty products, and the social meanings of African American hair texture, Gill shows how African American beauty entrepreneurs built and sustained a vibrant culture of activism in the beauty salons and schools, enhanced by lucid portrayals of Black beautician and drawing on archival research and oral histories. Beauty Shops Politics conveys the everyday operation and rich cultures of Black beauty salons, as well as their role in the building community. All right, so ooh, all right, so you guys can check this book out. Okay, again, it's called Beauty Shop Politics, written by Tiffany M. Gill. So you guys make sure you put that into your library. And then there's another book called Cutting Along the Color Line: Black Barbers and Barbershops in America, Quincy T. Mills. So today, black-owned barbershops play a central role in African American public life. So the intimacy of commercial grooming encourages both confidentiality and camaraderie, which make the barbershop an important gathering for African American men to talk freely. But for many years preceding and even after the Civil War, black barbers endured a measure of social stigma for perpetuating inequality. Though the profession offered economic mobility to black entrepreneurs, black barbers were obliged by custom to serve an exclusively white clientele. So Quincy T. Mills traces the lineage from these 19th century barbers to the to the bustling enterprise of today, demonstrating that the livelihood offered by the service economy was crucial to the development of a black commercial sphere, and the barbershop the barbershop as a democratic social space. Excuse me. All right, so it says cut along the color line chronicles the cultural history of black barbershops as businesses and civic institutions through several generations of barbers. Mills examined the transition from slavery to freedom in the 19th century, the early 19th century expansion of black consumerism, and the challenges of professionalization, licensing laws, and competition from white barbers. He finds that the profession played a significant, though complicated, role in 20th century racial politics. While the services of shaving and grooming were instrumental in the creation of socially accepted black masculinity, barbering permitted the financial independence to maintain public spaces that fostered civil rights politics. This sweeping, engaging history of iconic cultural establishment showed that black entrepreneurship was intimately linked to the struggle for equality. Wow. And this one's called Cutting Up Wit and Wisdom from Black Barbershops by Craig Marbury. So in The Crowns and the Spirit of Harlem, journalist Craig Marbury took oral history to a new level. Here in Cutting Up, he presents more pitch perfect portraits so good you'll feel like you're eavesdropping. So Cutting Up celebrates the laid back fellowship of men in a barbershop, the place, as Marbury writes, where we go to be among ourselves, to be ourselves, and to unmask. All right, so basically, this book deals with, the politics of men and when they go to these places and how they interact amongst each other. That's more like a sacred ground for them. So basically, that's what this book is dealing with. Okay. And let's see, I think that's the final. And this is the final book right here, which is called Hair History: Untangle the Roots of Black Hair in America by Ayana D. Bird and Laurie L. Thorpe. So it says, Two World Wars, the Civil Rights Movement, and a Jerry Curl later, blacks in America continue to have a complex and convoluted relationship with their hair. From the antebellum practice of shaving the hair in an attempt to pass as a free person to the 1998 uproar over a white third grade teacher's reading of the book Nappy Hair, the issues surrounding African American hair continue to linger as we enter the 21st century. So, hair history or hair story is a historical and anecdotal exploration of Black Americans' tangled hair roots, a chronological look at the culture and politics behind the ever changing state of Black hair from 15th century Africa to the present day United States. It ties the personal to the political and the popular. All right. And so that's that information. So, real quick, okay. So, real quick, here's the thing about hair. So, hair also represent political statements, right? So, when we wear our hair a certain way, it represents the pride that we had in ourselves. Let's take back, the black movement of the 60s and 70s, right? During the Black Panther time period. You saw that a lot of Black Panthers wore their hair in the afro, right? Because that represents going back to the root, going back to your natural way. So it's a symbolism that represents your African roots. And especially as women, we tend to be very creative with our look, with our hair. So we wear all different type of designs. What people don't know, for example, like cornrows and different braiding designs during that time period, they were around because that was the way slaves can figure out or navigate their way out the plantation. So if they wanted to figure out what direction they wanted to go, all they had to do was braid each other hair. And as they was braiding each other hair, right, they would put different designs on there. So that way they'll know this is the direction they need to go, or this is how to get out, etc. So all they had to do was follow the hair design. Pretty unique, right? Very cultural. So nowadays, you see a lot of us walk around with the designs in our hair, right? You see the men wear the braids with cornrows, or with a little crisscross, snake, whatever. All that traces back to slavery because that was their way of giving direction to where they need to go and how to get there. So our people was very creative. Okay. So we model all these designs and all the ideas they had, not knowing where it come from and why they were in existence. And so, and that was one of the reasons, you know what I mean? So yeah, but as women, especially, we are very creative when it comes to our hair. We like to dye our hair, we like to style our hair. So remember, hair is like a form of art. It's a form of art, you know. And before we get into the politics about women wearing weave and all of that, our people was doing that way before they came to the Atlantic. Okay. If you look at the tribes in Central West Africa, the women wore weave in their hair, like hair extensions. They wore that. Okay. And I'm not talking about just braids either. All right. They wore hair extensions because that was a part of the celebration, or if it was like for a ceremony, okay, they had to wear that. You know what I'm saying? If they were going through a rite of passage, they wore their hair a certain way. So hair weave and all that stuff, that been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So when we wear hair braids, hair extensions, as far as like getting the braid extensions and stuff, that comes from Central West Africa. They was doing that. That was a common thing. So, those little twists that you see the women's wear, the faux locks, they was wearing that in Africa. So all that, the faux locks, the African twist, that came from them. That was the style our ancestors had, and they brought it over here. So we carry on that tradition. All right. So again, anybody that argue about women wearing hair weave and all that, I get the whole idea of promoting natural hair. I understand that it's important that we love our roots, love our hair for what it is. But at the same time, we can't sit here and act like nobody ever wore hair extensions prior to the transatlantic slave trade. We can't never act, we can never say that because then we have not studied the history behind it. So yes, women wore hair extensions. Yes, women always been creative. Now, do I agree with the beauty standards of modern time period is? No, I don't, because what we model here in the Western culture, we model our beauty after the European woman because she was idolized as a symbol of beauty for us as Black women. So we model after them and we try to emulate them, right? But then there are those of us that say we ain't gonna try to emulate that. We just gonna be who we are. So either you like my hair nappy, either you love my hair straight. It doesn't matter because it's my hair and I'm gonna wear my hair how I want to wear it. Okay. So now when you go into these professional workplaces, you are seeing more and more women wearing their natural hair, or they might wear the African twist or the forelocks because they're not going to go by the beauty standards anymore. They going to signify their own standard of beauty. Now, there's some people that get a little carried away when they put all them extra colors in their hair. Some people get too carried away with that. But again, that's just the way we are. We are very creative with our looks. We like to be creative. We like to come up with different styles and different image, and which reflect how we feel about ourselves and reflect our attitude and all. Okay. All right. So, anyways, now let's go on to the next information. All right, so this information right here, I think is pretty important. I'll share it with y'all real quick. So this article deals with the hair salon and barbershop being a safe place in our community to help reduce crime and whatnot. So this is basically what this article dealing with. All right. So this comes from the National Library of Medicine, National Center for Biotechnology Information, right? It's all about just creating the safe space. Barbershops and beauty salon as community anchors in Black neighborhoods, crime prevention, cohesion, and supporting during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Now I'm gonna kind of like skip down a little bit. Now let's go down here where it says barbershops and beauty salons in the Black community. It says it is proposed that barbershops and beauty salons in predominantly Black communities may provide neighborhood virtue. Historical literature suggests that both barbershops and beauty salons have been important historical and socio-cultural institutions for American Black communities dating back to the pre-Civil War era. So during the pre-Civil War era and throughout Reconstruction, the barbershop and beauty salon served as a valuable place of solace and important financial institution for African Americans. Barbershops and beauticians were activists during the civil rights movement and provided connectivity and conversion node. These businesses have continued to this day as a place where adversity and resilient testimonials are securely shared. It said, thus, while clients might initially seek their hair salon for physical care, research suggests one also visit the barbershop and beauty salon for social cultural connection, kinship, and refuge. Further, these locations are important for the mental, physical, and emotional well-being of Black men and women. An American population who have disproportionately faced a long history of oppression and disenfranchisement. So, for example, stated that unlike other community settings, the barbershop, by its very nature, invites men of varied backgrounds to let their hair down without judgment, prejudice, or expectation. It is our country club. Similarly, the Black Beauty Salon also offer a safe place for open discussion where beautician and other frequenter Patreons are trusted and confided in. Hold on. Okay. All right, so let me go back to what I was reading. I had to do something real quick. I'm trying to see where I left off at. All right, so okay, I remember. Let me go back. So it said, thus, while clients might initially seek their hair salon for physical care, research suggests also one also visit the barbershop and beauty salon for social cultural connection, kinship, and refuge. Further, these locations are important for the mental, physical, and emotional well-being of Black men and women in an American population who have been disproportionately face a long history of oppression and disenfranchisement. So, for example, stated that unlike other community settings, the barbershop by its very nature invites men of varied backgrounds to let their hair down without judgment, prejudice, or expectation. It is our country club. Similarly, the Black Beauty Salon also offers a safe place for open discussion where beautician and other frequenter patrons are trusted and confided in. Moreover, these locations are places within the Black community where political and social capital is developed and maintained. So it says culture performance is achieved through the signals of cultural tradition, the nature of talk and social play, the acknowledged awareness and concern of issues relative to the community, and the negotiated understanding of Black hair and Black hairstyles. Barbershops and beauty salons in predominantly Black neighborhoods not only provided trusted hair cutting services, but they also actively welcome and encourage enculturation among community patrons. So it says recently the medical literature has begun to highlight barbershops and beauty salons as a focal points for public health information and intervention. For example, in a randomized controlled trial by the authors found a significant blood pressure level reduction among Black male patrons of barbers trained in blood pressure health promotion by clinical nurses. Other health promotion literature has found success in endorsing healthy lifestyles within barbershops and beauty salons. So it says outlines the intervention called psychotherapy. Oh, psychotherapy. What a unique word. Anyways, which bridges mental health care professionals with beautician in order to train hair care professional to improve clients' mental health. Thus, the historical, cultural, and public health literatures have all suggest that barbershops and beauty salons are impactful, respected businesses within the Black community. All right, so again, this comes from the article of the National Library of Medicine. And let me say something. So yeah, that comes from the article of that article basically deals with the research about hair salons and barbershops. And again, that's important. You know what I'm saying? That's those places are the most important role. I mean, the most important place for us to go. You know what I'm saying? So it's where we can just go and socialize. And also people like to go and sell products there, and just like to get their hair done. So I mean, you learn so much when you in those spaces. It's so much that you come across all different type of people. You are able to build relationship with individuals, and you able to network. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, wow. I mean, it's like it makes you feel good because you in a comfortable space. You know what I'm saying? You in a very comfortable space, so you feel like you at home. So it's kind of like you go there to get a rite of passage. So whether you go to the barbershop where the men can go socialize with each other, they can talk about sports, music, cars, clothes, houses, whatever they want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes relationships, they feel like, hey, this is where they go. And then you got young men that come in there, they talk to the male elders and whatnot. They feel like that's their rite of passage. The females, the same way. We go in there, we talk about beauty, we talk about hair, we could talk about money. We could talk about clothes. We could talk about houses. We'll talk about men. You know what I'm saying? So this is, our space. So yeah. Um, so that's pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys. I appreciate y'all for coming in here. Let me see what this comment say. Okay, so somebody asked me a question. The decode alpha female talk. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to me in my email. Okay, so yeah, just reach out to me. I can give you my email address. As a matter of fact, I'll type my email in here, and then um we can set up, when I can go live with you and here, go from there. So I'll give you my email. Okay. So yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that email. Then we can set up that, and then I'll just go live with you from there. So just let me know. All right. You're welcome. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right then. So, anyways, y'all take it easy on yourselves, and thank you for watching my video. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel, etc. And until next time, peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. All right. So shout out to multi-generational mulatto 1515 media, the B code alpha female talk. Shout out to you. Hopefully I'll be able to get an opportunity to, come and build with you and whatnot. So yeah, shout out to you. And yeah, and shout out to all the new subscribers. Thank y'all for subscribing to my channel. So make sure you guys check out my previous videos. And if you like what you see, just share it. And that's that. All right. So excuse me. Have a good Sunday. Take it easy on yourselves and be safe out here in these streets. And I will build with y'all later. So peace.